Hey everybody, Gareth here. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be replacing a whole bunch of stuff here in the front suspension. Control arms, the control arm bushings, the knuckles. I mean, pretty much everything here with the exception of the coilover is going to be swapped out. I've already done this on the other side, which I'll show you so you can kind of see what the final result will look like. Got the Revshift 95A durometer control arm bushings. The E36 M3 axles, that's part of the upgrade here. Everything pretty much just swaps right over. But I'm going to do this in a pretty efficient and, in my opinion, easy way. I'm going to remove the entire knuckle with the coilover attached and the rear control arm. Just literally going to pull the whole thing on one shot. So I'll show you how to do that. Follow along. We'll make this super easy and quick. If you're doing a full rebuild like this, this is my way that I recommend doing it. We have a 22mm nut right here. That holds on to the inner ball joint for the control arm. These could be a 21 or a 22, depending on the manufacturer of control arm installed. Pretty sure these are Miley. I think Lemford would be 21 mil. Now this is the tightest side of the car to get to that nut, for obvious reasons. Pull the steering in the way. But that is now loose and moving on its own. Go in there with the electric ratchet. Let's see if I can get it off a little bit faster. Oops. Oh boy. Next up, we got two 17s in the back here that hold the control arm bracket or control arm bushing bracket. All right, that's loose now. Now this tie rod is disconnected from the knuckle here. The reason for that is I just finished replacing the steering system today, and quite honestly never hooked it back up. But if it was hooked back up, my recommendation is take a hammer, hit right here. Should release it pretty easily if it doesn't fall out on its own. Reason being is this is not a huge taper. So there's not that much holding it in, or not that much force holding it in. Could be a little stubborn, or you could use a specialized separator. However, some of those don't fit depending on the space you have to work with, so sometimes the hammer method will work, but only do it if it's a cast steel knuckle, which these are on the E36. Next, I'm going to disconnect the brake line here. It's 11 mil. I loosen these in advance, just FYI. Alright, the brake bleed bottle, that'll catch most of what's leaking out. However, you know, this brake system's been open for a while, so most of the brake fluid has already left the system. So our wheel speed sensor right here. This is our pad wear sensor right here. There we go. Next up, we're going to disconnect the sway bar from the control arm. And last, we got the strut nuts, or the camber plate nuts here on top. These are all 13s. Oops. Out of all the parts, the only thing I need is the coilover. Everything else is going to be brand new. The control arm bushing bracket, the knuckle, the bearing. Nothing else from that assembly is needed. So 19 mil for the top nut here. Alright, if I can get what's left of that bolt to move, that would be ideal. We'll see. Ooh. Alright, here we go. Here's our new Lemforder control arm, and here's our Revshift front control arm bushing. It's the offset version for increased caster, and I have a set screw installed into it. I have a video on how to do this. Put a link in the description if you're interested as well. The purpose behind doing the set screw with these offset bushings is just to make sure that they don't rotate. Now your standard steel bushing won't do that because, or rubber bushing won't do that because it has a steel sleeve. These do not, so therefore they could potentially rotate, which will screw up your caster angle. Now we can install the knuckle onto the ball joint. Alright, so these nuts are 19 mil. Thing to note, however, is to torque this you would need a crow's foot wrench. I don't have one. Not with me at least, so we're just gonna snug these up for now, and I'll just get in there later on and torque it to where it needs to be torqued. However, what's nice is these just tighten up without really much hassle. Okay. It's tight enough for now. Next up, we'll go ahead and get the strut installed, the coil over.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
I didn't notice while I was filming that the lower mounts on the front coilovers were actually reversed. The one that's on the front left should be on the front right should be on the front left. The reason I know that is the sway bar link tabs are reversed. So while you're watching this video, if you notice that problem, I did notice it myself and I have since rectified it. I just assumed that the previous owner had installed them correctly, and it wasn't until while I was editing this video that I finally noticed that it was in fact installed reverse, which would have been a problem because when I go to install the sway bars, the sway bar links are not going to line up correctly. So, you know, case in point, just double check what you're doing while you're working. You can save yourself some hassle later on. But just want to interrupt the video real quick to let you know that I did notice that problem. Normal torque on this is 107 newton meters. Also, the bottom is 107 newton meters as well. Just going to get a nut on the ball joint stud here. I'm going to use a floor jack to put pressure on it so we can torque it later. Alright, there we go. That's in. Well, it's officially gotten dark. I had to walk away from this for a minute, but I really got to finish it up. The torque on those two bolts is 47 newton meters. The torque on that one up there is going to be 90 newton meters. I'm going to torque these down here first. I'm going to torque that. And then next, we'll go ahead and get the tie rod on to the knuckle. And then we'll get the wheel bearing installed. It's obviously very tight in there. This one gets torqued to 90 newton meters. I just want to see if I can get it a little bit more, get it closer to there before I stick a torque wrench in there. With the magic of editing power, all of a sudden we have lots of light again, from being completely dark to light. Well, reason for that is it's a completely different day. Ran out of time on Saturday, so I'm finishing up all of this suspension stuff today, which is a Tuesday. It's also a little bit cooler out as well. So we have to get in there to torque this nut, which we kind of talked about the complexity of that. Just got to find an angle that's as straight as possible. Maybe right about there could work. Yeah, that's not too bad. See if we can get some torque on this. This is 90 newton meters. And unfortunately, do not think I'm going to be able to get a torque wrench on that thing. It's just in there very tight. I have to disconnect some of these power steering lines, which I don't think is worth doing. It's not going to happen. As much as I'd like it to, not enough room. And that's alright. I'm confident it is tight enough. I'm going to call that torqued. Gonna have to, I just have no way of getting to it. Oh well. I'm gonna go ahead and put some green torque seal on there just to know that we tightened it. You know, I bet if I had a crow's foot, I could probably get to it from underneath, but I don't have a 21mm crow's foot, so not happening. This was absolutely wasted, so I went ahead and picked up a new one from work. I also decided to pick up all new fasteners for the strut mount here. I did not like how these bolts, or the condition of these bolts, so I'm not going to reuse them. I don't need to. Also, most of these bolts are kind of a highly recommended one-time replacement only. So I'm going to adhere to that. It's not really a huge deal. This bolt right here was completely trashed as it was, so no loss there. I did throw these bolts in the other night just to hold it together, and that's about it. Absolutely destroyed. This is the correct bolt if you're not looking to achieve any camber correction, which with camber plates you wouldn't really need to use those anyway. And they're all supposed to be installed with washers, which it didn't have either, so don't really know. I have found that, like I said, I also just did the other side, and this bolt is a pretty tight fit. So I'm going to use the nut to start pulling it through. Like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw the washer back on. Oops, wrong way. Torque spec here, it's going to be 107 newton meters. Like so. also 107 newton meters. Twist around, get the other side. Nice. I'm going to put the tie rod back on now. Or actually install the tie rod for the first time. This one has not been installed. And that's just to put pressure on the taper so the ball joint won't spin. There we go. It's a locking nut, so torque spec for this is 36 newton meters. There we go. Now we're going to install the, it's like an inner bearing race seal. And these are a little tricky, you just kind of have to work them into place a little bit. So I just do a couple taps at a time until it starts to move. Now we're just going to slide the wheel bearing into place. This tool makes life ridiculously easy. And then this will literally just press the bearing all the way down the stub shaft. You know, you could take your big 46mm socket and hammer the shit out of it, but not a fan of doing that, because this is really just easier. Right there. Perfect. And always install a new axle nut. This is the one where you need the 46mm 6-point socket for. And then this gets torqued to 290 Newton meters. The only problem is the steering sometimes wants to move on you. We're almost there though. And then we're just going to go ahead and stick the nut. Another thing I've decided to do is install the OEM strut mount reinforcements. I am going to lose some camber adjustment temporarily. I do have to make some minor modifications to retain access to the full range of camber adjustment. For now, I'm just going to loosen these camber plate screws. Someone made these tight as hell. Just gonna take some WD-40 here and spray it on the pillow ball. WD is water displacement. It's not a very good lubricant, but it does keep shit from getting inside of that pillow ball, or that bearing. For some reason, not really getting very good adjustability here. Seems like somebody went apeshit on these camber adjustments. There we go. So that's what I said about losing some adjustability. What's going to have to happen is I'm probably going to notch this area out so that it fits better. But something for now. Ugh. Definitely going to clean these camber plates out. There's a lot of crunchy stuff in there. But I'm not doing any major adjustments or planning to make any adjustments immediately here. I expect I'll have about 2 degrees of negative camber off the bat. The M3 knuckles give you a little bit as it is, so I should have plenty to work with And there's other ways to get a little bit extra from it. But for now, this will be just fine. And like I said, I will make those adjustments a little bit later on just to get a little bit more room for the camber adjuster if I need it. So I think that pretty much covers everything on the E36 M3 knuckle swap and the front end suspension refresh. This video sort of ties into the steering overhaul that was done too, because, you know, brand new tie rods and everything like that. Of course, after this type of work, you're going to have to do a front toe adjustment, possibly a camber adjustment as well. Although there is no real camber adjustment from the factory, there is a different bolt that you can put through there that allows you to change some stuff, or you can use washers as shims. I don't like that. Obviously, this coilover kit has camber plates on it, so no reason to not use it if those adjustments are needed. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to do for overall alignment specs. I'm actually thinking about running 0 toe in the front with maybe 2.5, 3 degrees of negative camber per side, and maybe like 1.5 degrees of camber in the rear and a 1/4 inch toe in. We'll see. I don't know yet. Haven't yet figured that out. But anyway, I hope you learned something in this video. Obviously, if you have any questions or comments or want any information, go ahead and leave a comment. I'll definitely do my best to get back to you as fast as I can. Other than that, go ahead, comment, rate, subscribe. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. Getting really close to finishing the engine work on this car, and we'll be able to start it up hopefully, and it'll run. That's what I'm hoping. But other than that, you can also follow me along on Instagram at Gareth Foley. The link to my Instagram profile is in the description below. Other than that, like I said, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Later.